Zone number 16, City of Houston meeting. I think everybody's somewhat familiar with our process. We're going to start with a board member roll call. As I call your name, please announce your presence. We'll start Robert Clay. I think he's not scheduled to attend. Dot Cunningham. Dot, are you here? No. Ethel Johnson?
Present.
Steve Lerner is present. Kendall Miller?
Here.
Judson Robinson is not scheduled to attend. Lisa Simon?
I'm here.
Great. Louis Sklar?
I'm still here.
Okay. Mary Carmen Tamez?
Present.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Now, the staff members of the Uptown staff, would you please identify yourselves?
This is Andrew Gerridge.
Bob Ethington.
Betsy Kirkgard. Shannon Daniels.
John Breeding.
Mike Williams.
Josh Flowers.
Pat Bunny Son. Delia Biswa.
Robert Tommy.
Amy Escalante.
That's all staff that's here.
Stephen Wood.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Stephen's on.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Now we're going to do the public roll call. One suggestion, if there are more than one of you from a particular firm, try to do that in some sort of order. But otherwise, I need the members of the public to identify yourselves, please.
This is Jessica Hollebeck with ABHR.
Peggy Foreman with Bernie and Foreman.
Kristen Blomquist with Masterson Advisors.
Charlotte Knight and Keith Kervin St. James with TKG and Associates.
Drew Masterson with Masterson Advisors.
John Taylor is here from Texas Capital.
And this is Kathleen Ellison from Norton Rose Fulbright. I'm here with Leslie Bacon.
Beth Crone, Bank of New York.
Are there any other members of the public who have not yet identified yourself?
Ben Perry with Masterson Advisors.
Terrific, thank you. Any others?
Jennifer Curley, City of Houston.
Thank you. Okay, so the conference call rules, as you're all familiar, is please say your name first before you're speaking, and everybody I'll ask to stay on mute. If you are not speaking, it'll make it go a little bit easier. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the January 6, 2021 meeting. If I could, I'd request a motion approving the minutes.
This is Lisa Simon. Our term has joined the conference. Lisa Simon, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Ethel Johnson.
Thank you, Ethel. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, I was a little confused about these next instructions, John or Stephen. It's to approve the resolution, approving the adoption of a resolution authorizing the issuance of Uptown Development Authority taxable Series 2021A bonds and taxable Series 2021B bonds. Are we now to suspend that and not approve that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you would suspend this meeting, and then we'll come back after we do the work in the Uptown Development Authority, and our last action will be to approve the resolution by the TIRZ board.
Okay, terrific. Okay, that's kind of how I read that. So we're now going to suspend the reinvestment zone number 16, City of Houston, Texas meeting. And I will call to order the Uptown Development Authority meeting. And please bear with us. We're going to have to go through the same process all over again. So first we'll start with the board member roll call. Robert Clay, not scheduled to attend. Dot Cunningham. Ethel Johnson.
Present.
Steve Lerner is present. Kendall Miller.
Present.
Judson Robinson is not scheduled to attend. Louis Sklar.
Present.
Lisa Simon.
I'm here, thank you.
Mary Carmen Tamez.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll ask the Uptown staff to identify themselves.
This
Please.
is, go ahead, this is Andrew Jerry.
Bob Effington.
Betsy Kirkgard. Shannon Daniels.
Mike Williams,
Nakwa Nisar. Delia Mizwa.
Robert Tobby,
John Reading.
Amy Escalante.
Stephen Wood.
Okay, wonderful. Now we'll go through the members of the public, and I want to see if everybody can do it in the same order as the last time, although it's not critical. So please, members of the public, identify yourselves.
Jessica Hollebeck with ABHR.
Peggy Foreman, Bernie and Foreman.
Kristen Blomquist with Masterson Advisors.
Charlotte Knight Marshall, Keith Kervin, and Chris St. James with TKG and Associates.
Drew Masterson and Ben Carey, also with Masterson Advisors.
John Taylor, Texas Capital Bank.
Kathleen Ellison and Leslie Bacon with Norton Rose Fulbright.
Beth Crone, Bank of New York.
Margaret Dunlap with Metro.
Are there any other members of the public who have not yet identified themselves?
I'm sorry, did you hear me? This is Margaret Dunlap with Metro.
Yes, we did. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
This is Jennifer Curley, City of Houston.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. That was very well done. Our next item is to receive comments or questions from the public. Is there anybody signed up to make any comments at this time?
No one has signed up in the office or asked a request to speak.
Okay, thanks, John. Next item of business is to approve the minutes of the January 6, 2021 meeting. I'd like to request a motion to approve the minutes, please.
Mary Carmen Tamez.
Thank you. Second.
Lisa Simon, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item of business is to approve invoices. Here, turn it over to Shannon Daniels.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you would scroll to page 5, you'll see the first page for our summary of invoices submitted for the months of October, November. We have submitted for your approval for reimbursements to the district a total of $147,846.16. That primarily includes the fees that the district charges the TIRZ for staff managing projects and whatnot, and small reimbursements to the tune of $53,000 for some transit center work done and some final work done on the boulevard, reimbursing the district. The second section, you'll see $23,000, $471.21 for just the endings of consultants working on the rings with Walter P. Moore and some miscellaneous surveying with Lufer, and just wrapping up Post Oak Boulevard with Gunda Corporation. Again, $23,000 worth of those reimbursements to district capital. If you'll notice, in December when we met, we received an authorization for you for $75,000. That zero there, we did not pay anything in absence, and so the $23,000 are the invoices that we're currently submitting. If you go down to the third section, we have UDA contracts and work orders, invoices to be processed under the UDA. You'll see that we have a total of $480,967.98 worth of invoices to be approved by you today. Also, in December, we received authorization for $325,000 in the event that we received invoices after that board meeting. You'll see that we only paid $37,000 worth of invoices. The bulk of these are being presented to you at this meeting. Then lastly, we have our UDA construction payments. We have the end of our Raytech contract on the Post Oak Boulevard and the amendment for the communication systems with Metro. You see 2 invoices there. And then also you have Tellefson, which is our contractor with the Memorial Park Land Bridge project. That $4.7 million are 2 construction payments, one that we paid after our meeting and one that we're submitting that is current. Altogether, you see we are submitting before you to be approved $5,459,438.45 worth of invoices on pages 6 through, I guess that would be 6 through 8. We just have a little bit more information. You can see just a small synopsis of the type of work that they're doing and the contract under with which they're doing those services. So I'd like to request a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the invoices that have been presented to you today.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve these invoices?
Lisa Simon, I'm making a motion.
Louis Sklar, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The motion is approved. Thank you very much. Shannon, I think the next item is the MWDBE report, and yours still on.
All right, thank you, sir. Starting on page 9, you have our summary page for our MWDBE expenditures that we track for all of our payments here. The top half is a cumulative inception to date. You can see that cumulatively we're at 40% for our professional services with a goal of 24%. And for our construction goal of 17%, cumulatively we've achieved 23% MWDBE participation. That bottom section looks at this current fiscal year. So again, our professional goal is 24%, and you can see that we are at 60% year to date. Likewise, for construction, a goal of 17%, we're at 52%. A lot of that, as you know, has to do with our land bridge project, Tellefson, and they had about 33%, I think is correct, Andrew?
Yes, ma'am.
Goal that they will be achieving. A lot of that is the Tricon contractor that is responsible for a lot of the concrete and arch work. The next pages through 15 is just a little bit more information. You can see what we have year to date, any prime and the subs and how that shakes out towards meeting the goals that we just looked at. And you also have some charts that just kind of track it in, for visual representation. Are there questions or concerns? This is no action required, just for your review. Are there any questions or concerns?
Nice job.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and looks like we're well on our way towards exceeding our goals, which is terrific.
That is terrific.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding for the construction of the Seymour Lieberman Trail with the Memorial Park Conservancy. I will turn it over to John and Andrew.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, this is Andrew Jerry. We are proposing an MOU be signed that would accelerate the project. You see at the bottom of the picture on your, hopefully on your computer, there's a gold box there with a red trail through it. The Memorial Park Conservancy has asked that we accelerate this project. We're in agreement, but we need an MOU signed that would put the project starting in January of this year, completing in October of next year. The funding for the project would stay on the tri-party path and would not be due until May 31st, 2026. So we're requesting this MOU be approved.
Key thing here is no increase, limited to $3 million. It was in our commitment for the 10-year plan. And again, It doesn't change when we pay it. It just transfers that responsibility for upfront funding and construction management to the MPC.
That's correct. Not to exceed
And
3
John
million.
and Andrew, I take it you're happy with this arrangement?
Yes.
Yes, very happy.
In other words, it stirs what they want to do, and it does not expose the UDA to fund any more than it was ever going to fund. And so if the project goes over budget, we're limited, am I correct, to our $3 million commitment?
You are correct.
Okay.
One other thing that, and we visited with MPC about this, they fully understand that we survive on the increment. And if we do not have the funds at that time, we remain committed and we will pay those funds when we're able to. So there's some small risk on their part, but there's no increased risk on our part.
The good thing, the interesting thing about this, you'll get a brand new trail now from where the land bridge is on the left side, the bottom left of that diagram, all the way past Eastern Glades on your blue diagram on the right. So about half of the SLT will be brand new with this little section.
So what happens to, I guess, the white part between the two red parts?
That white part is part of the land bridge project. So it'll be new October
Okay.
2022.
That's sort of the thing. I just wanted to make sure we all understood kind of what that's being effectively rerouted because of the land bridge, correct?
You're correct.
Okay. So when that's done, basically that'll all be done. Which
That's
is,
correct.
I presume, why they want to do it.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? If there are no other questions, may I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Memorial Park Conservancy?
Mary Carmen Tamez, I make a motion.
Thank you, Mary Carmen. Second, please.
Lisa Simon, second.
Thank you, Lisa. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Terrific. Motion passed. It sounds like good for everybody. Okay. Now we're getting into the items concerning the issuance of the bonds. Our first item to take up is to approve the purchaser's investment in bid letter for the Series 2021A bonds, and we're going to turn it over to Stephen and Jessica for that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Stephen Wood. In the interest of avoiding confusion of people talking over each other, I'd like to ask Jessica Holobeck to take the board through items 10, 11, 12, and 13 from the chairman's agenda.
Perfect.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jessica Holobeck. I'd like to give you just a 45-second recap of what our financing plan here is to refresh your memory, and then I'll go through each of the approvals that we're requesting of you today. As a reminder, this is a taxable series of bonds being issued to fund four affordable housing projects at the City of Houston. These bonds are secured only by your 1/3 of the increment that's allocated for affordable housing.
A participant has joined the conference.
We are issuing these bonds in two separate series. The first series, 2021A bonds, will be a private placement being purchased by a bank, and it also includes a refunding component. We are refunding all of your outstanding debt so that we can replace and update your indenture, your trust document. We are asking today that those bonds be priced. The Series 2021B bonds will be priced on February the 3rd, but we'll be asking today for you to adopt what we call a delegation resolution setting certain parameters. So that's the 45-second overview. I'll take a breath and just check if there's any questions yet. Okay, moving along. Item 10 is to approve your purchaser's letter. If you scroll to page 22, this is the contract under which you are agreeing to sell, and Texas Capital Bank is agreeing to purchase $47,355,000 in bonds. The terms of the bonds are set forth in the resolution, which is the next document, item 11. So I'll pause on going through that. But one important thing I do want to point out, because I think this was discussed at your board meeting when we approved the term sheet. If you scroll to page 20, let's see.
Seven. 27.
You're on mute, John.
Jessica, did we lose you?
I'm so sorry. I accidentally hit mute. Item C on page 20. My dog was barking, and I was trying to avoid you all hearing that. And
I was just, I thought the dog ate the homework proverbially, right? Okay. Well, when you say page 20, I'm not sure. What page is that in our book, John?
It should
be page 27 in your book.
It should be your page 27. If you'll look, as you scroll at the bottom, it should be a page number.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we all have a chance to get to the right place.
Okay, Jessica?
This is the provision that under which the issuer is the issuer are agreeing to use commercially reasonable efforts to deposit at least $5 million in an account held by Texas Capital Bank, provided that the rate, yes, so yeah,
yes,
provided that the rate on this deposit is greater than or equal to rates that we could otherwise obtain.
Got it. Well done.
We can take action on each individual item, or we can take action on items 10, 11, 12, and 13 all together at the end. Director Lerner, what's your preference?
I would say let's go through all of it and then take, if we can do it all at once, that sounds efficient to me.
Jessica, I'd suggest that you deal with 21A bonds, and then after you get those done, move on to Bs. Would that work as well?
That's fine too.
Okay.
So that's 10, 11, and 12.
Yep. Yes.
So
yes,
item 11 is your resolution authorizing the issuance of the 2021A bonds, and that resolution starts on page 31 of your document. This is the board's official action is to authorize issuance of the bonds. It goes through the terms of the bonds, we're selling them, and that starts on page 35. The interest rate is a 1.75%, and we're using these to finance a citywide affordable housing program. The bonds are going to be callable. It's one-term bond maturing in 2030, but it has mandatory sinking fund redemptions that are spelled out on page. You keep scrolling with me. It's on page 45. This is the maturity schedule. I'll pause a second to let you guys catch up with that document. This is the schedule under which we'll be repaying the bonds, and they are also going to be subject to optional early redemption in February of 2026. Any bonds maturing after September 1st, 2025. Can I answer any questions about the bond resolution for 2021A?
Jessica, I think the key points there were the issues that you pointed out in the 1.75% interest and the $47,355,000 in bond proceeds. Is there anything else that you think are the key?
It's dovetailing into the next item to authorize notice of redemption on page 50 of the resolution. We discussed that we are going to use $2,953,010 to refund all of the outstanding debt. And on page 50, you can see a schedule of what is outstanding. We've got 4 series still outstanding. And
So just to cover me and understanding all this, Jessica, that we're borrowing 47 million at 1.75. We're going to use a portion of those proceeds of 2,953,000 to pay off old bonds, that affordable housing bonds, all the way back. My goodness, when did we sell those? 2001, 2002, 2004, and 2000. Yeah, in 2004. 4 different issues.
yes, sir, that is correct.
But we have to do.
So that,
I was just going to say, we have to do the 47 million first, so we'll have the funds to pay off the 2,900,000.
Yes, we're using a portion of the proceeds to pay off outstanding debt so that we can replace and update your indenture. That's the trust document. It was first adopted in 2001, and examples of what we'd like to update include the kind of surety policy we could use, also allowing each individual bond issue to have its own standalone reserve fund. And in this case, the 2021A does not have any reserve fund. We would not have been able to do that without replacing the indenture. So to that end, item 12 is to authorize notice of redemption. We have to give 30 days advance notice to your bondholders that we're redeeming the bonds. That happens by giving notice to your trustee, who's on the call today. We will send that out tomorrow, and they will provide it prior to the redemption date of February the 25th. So everything will go according to plan. We will fund and redeem bonds on the 2021A bonds on February the 25th.
Has joined the conference.
What questions can I answer about 2021A?
I'm assuming also on this taking care of defeasing these old bonds, that their interest rates aren't something that we need anyway. In other words, if they're more than the rate we're paying on the new bonds. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So it's good for lots of reasons.
Yes. And we have wanted to refund them previously. This is a good opportunity because we are issuing taxable bonds. Without getting too far into the weeds, it makes refunding this outstanding debt much easier.
Okay, we'll accept that. That makes sense. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if the board so chooses, to combine items 10, 11, and 12.
Right. So we need a motion to do 3 things. Approve the purchaser's investment. Is there a particular order in which we need to do this, Jessica?
You can do them all together. No, we're
going to do them
10, 11, and
okay.
12 are all related.
Then I'll just sort of summarize it. We're going to approve the purchaser's investment and bid letter for the 2021 Series A bonds, the resolution to authorize the issuance of the Series 2021 bonds, and assigning all documents relating to the sale and delivery of those bonds, and to request a motion to authorize a notice of redemption relating to the Series 2021A bonds. Can I have a motion, please, to cover all those 3 items?
Mayor Carlson, as I make a motion.
Lisa Simon, second.
Lisa Simon, second.
Lisa, thank you, Lisa. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I think I heard dots.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Jessica,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman, I think I heard Dot's voice. Dot, was that you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to so note for the record that the esteemed Dot Cunningham had joined us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next item, which we're going to turn back to Jessica, which is authorizing the issuance of the Series 2021B bonds. Jessica?
All right. I'm going to give you all just a second to scroll because you have to get past quite a few documents before you get to, I believe, the resolution starts on page 108.
Whoa.
This is
That was audible.
This is your resolution authorizing the issuance of the 2021B bonds, which will be offered in the open market. the next agenda item will be going over your offering document that gets used in the market. But before that, the resolution is a delegation resolution. We expect to price on February the 3rd. And this resolution would delegate to an authorized official to set the total par amount, the interest rate, whether or not we have insurance, and approve the reserve fund amount. I have drafted this by volunteering Director Lerner to be your authorized representative. However, that's a decision for the board, and if you are not going to be available on February the 3rd, we can delegate to an alternate.
Well, it's certainly my plan to be here.
Okay. Then we will stick with that in the resolution. You'll see in the resolution we have your underwriters as UBS Financial Services as the representative of itself, and both Loop Capital Markets and Hilltop Securities. I have Kristen Blomquist with Masterson Advisors on the line, so I would invite Kristen if you have anything you want to say about the pricing date, and then we can answer questions about the resolution.
Thanks, Jessica. I just wanted to kind of maybe talk a little bit about, of course, the pricing date, February 3rd, is when we're going to be locking in these Series 2021B bonds. And, of course, today, you guys have just approved locking in the 2021A bonds at a rate of 1.75%. And, we've been navigating this market. Rates have actually been coming up a little bit, mostly because of the Georgia runoff and the change in Senate control. But also, we've been working with the underwriters, and we've kind of seen this credit is what we kind of would call a little bit of a COVID credit. There's a COVID penalty associated with this upcoming transaction, simply because it's high in commercial, and it's it's also, you have your highest taxpayer is a mall, and all of us that are here, we all understand that Uptown is the premier area in Houston. Everyone wants to move there. Everyone wants to, go to the mall, and it really is an area of Houston that is still growing and still moving despite what's going on with COVID. But, folks that are, the investors that are around the country, they still only see, these kind of bullet points. And so, unfortunately, with timing, it's kind of creating this increase in rates for the transaction for the 2021B bonds. And just wanted to, kind of take you back to when we discussed the transaction at the last meeting. We had an all-in rate of about 3.34, and because of these things that I'm kind of talking about, our rate is a little bit higher right now. We're looking at about a 3.63%. And, rates are still at historic lows, and this is still a very, very good all-in rate, but just wanted to make sure that you all kind of understand that rates are going up, and then also that, the market is kind of penalizing this specific credit due to the pandemic currently. But, I'll stop there and see if you have any questions on kind of the impact to the numbers compared to what we provided, we discussed last time.
This is Charlotte. Kristen, the only thing that I had a comment on was the signatory requirements. I think we've all been in a position on our side of the business when the signatory became unavailable for unforeseen purposes. So it's always a good idea just to have a backup, because God forbid that we don't have our first and only signature available it could wipe the deal out. So
You're right. I happen to agree with that. Let's make sure we have the backup.
yes.
This is Jessica. I can speak to that. The resolution actually sets up any officer as the authorized representative. So if Director or Lerner weren't available, we would scramble about and find another officer who is. I was simply putting him on notice that we would be asking for his signature on February the 3rd. But we should be covered in the event he's not available.
I'm disappointed that you weren't guaranteeing my availability, but I think it'll be okay. That's a good point. Thank you.
Following on Kristen's excellent description of the market, the reason this is important, and we emphasized it, if you scroll to page 112, you'll notice a blank in there. At the bottom of the page, section 3.1, where this, as I mentioned multiple times, this is a delegation resolution, so we're setting some parameters, authorizing the issuance of an amount not to exceed $65 million at an interest rate not to exceed blank percent. We need to make a decision about what the board is comfortable with there. I believe I heard Kristen saying market rates are around 3.7 today. Throwing a number out there, perhaps we want to go as high as 3.8, and putting Kristen on the spot now and making sure that she's comfortable with that. We could go, we do want to deliver these bonds. If we needed to go as high as 4, I think that's still not an unreasonable rate.
Well, so the all-in rate that I was mentioning included also the 2021 A's, and so the B's on a standalone basis would be much higher than that. I think I don't want anyone to get uncomfortable, but either 4.5 or maybe 5%. I really don't want to if we can issue these even at 5% and we still meet our coverage requirements and get to all the hit up everything we need to. I certainly don't want the rate to hold us back, but if we need to come down a little bit, maybe 4.75 or 4.50.
This is Charlotte. I think 5 just on the generic side, because suppose you get to 4.875. You missed it, so just we won't go over it if we don't need to, clearly, but we need to have it so we don't have to start from scratch again.
Yeah, I think erring on the side of caution. I don't anticipate getting up to that percentage, but if we need to price these bonds, I certainly don't want that to be an issue come the day of pricing.
Pricing
and just for disclosure purposes, we do not make any money no matter what your rate is. If it's 1% or 20%, we're obligated. We're your fiduciaries to make sure that you're taken care of correctly.
Mr. Chairman, this is John Breeding.
Yes. Those
numbers kind of make me swallow hard. That seems, in all of our years of doing, selling debt, we have never had something on the order of 1.5, more than 100 basis points, maybe 150 basis points here. That seems, I'm uncomfortable. I wonder if we would want to go ahead with a bond issue at a 5% rate when we are borrowing short term, and I understand we have limited capacity. So I just think that I have no professional opinion. Drew, I'd like to invite Drew Masterson, who is our financial advisor. Drew, do you want to try to give me some comfort, let alone my board of directors?
Sure. Thank you, John. This is Drew Masterson. So the 3.63% that Kristen mentioned earlier is a a blended rate between the A's and the B's, with the A's at 1.75 and the B's north of 4%. The reason the A's are shorter, a couple of reasons. The reason that A's are lower, one is that they're the short end of the yield curve the first 10 years or so. And the longer bonds are obviously way more expensive. But Kristen, what is the rate as of today's rates that you ran this morning on the B's alone? It's like
410.
410. So what we're talking about, John,
First time I've
is
heard
how much cushion
Have you heard it
do
before?
you want to build in to this parameter sale before you need to reconvene the board above today's rates at 410. The 410 and the 175, together with issuance costs, get you to the 363 average rate. So what we're talking about is how much could the 410 go up before the board is uncomfortable having delegated this authority.
I mean, I know it's limited.
You know, I would think 4.5 would be certainly a minimum level of cushion. Kristen was suggesting maybe a 475, but that's the on the B's alone, is because this parameter focuses only on the B's. Does that help?
I'd ask the board. Mr. Chairman?
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting, is I think that in a strange way, kind of averaging the A's and the B's together is really the issue, because they really are different bonds. Particularly, it's a 10-year term, but if you look at the amount that's principal that's repaid every year, it's a very different kind of an issue than these B bonds. And so we all have to remember these are taxable bonds, so it's not the kind of rates we would necessarily see if it was tax exempt, I assume. You know, 450 seems to me that's a 40 basis point cushion. That's just a hair under a 10% swing from where we are today. It would be fair to say that anything over that might be deemed to be material. So I do have a little bit concern of just wanting.
Margaret
perhaps
has left the conference.
Partly saying that that's a lot of authority to delegate to any one person without the board reconsidering, in a sense, okay, do we really want to do this? Let's say, for example, rates have gone up 60 basis points. That's pretty significant. I'd be fine with 450. I don't know how others on the board feel, if they think that that's sufficient or not.
Is this again, sorry, this is Mary Carmen Tomez. Is this again, we're taking that rate on February 3rd, so we've still got quite a bit of time, or is that a different date?
That's correct. This is the pricing as of what we're talking about, pricing on February the 3rd.
So we're talking about the risk of the rate swing between now and February the 3rd.
A participant has joined the conference.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
And sorry, this is Mary Carmen Tomez again. John, Mr. Breeding, I'm sorry, again, what was the rate that we have gone with, I guess, or not exceeded what percentage?
Yeah. That's a great question, and just a real quick, historically, I'm looking at a total of $121 million that we've gone through traditional public sales, going back all the way to 2009. Our highest interest rates all in was at 5.46, and a low of 3.14 in the depths of 2012's kind of recession. And so if we sort of took a weighted average, our public offering has been about 4.38 or so. So what they're talking about is something that's kind of in line with what we paid in the past, and I think thank you, Drew, for clarifying my misunderstanding. I was wasn't looking at the blended. I was looking at the blended rate, not at the rate for the Bs, and I think you said the market today was about 4.1%, and would we walk away from a 4.5? You know, I doubt it. I think that what we're asking for, as Jessica has presented, is to give Drew, give Drew them and to give then Steve some ability, Chairman Lerner, some ability to take a look at what the market says. And I think, you know, if it's within his comfort range, you know, we could go ahead and do it. So I think that I heard somebody that said that it'd be real comfortable at 5. Could we, Steve, you said 450. You want to give them 475 and then be willing to walk away if it's excessive?
Sure.
Drew?
And I understand that there's a strong need to do this. I do get that.
Yeah. Drew, can you live with 475 as that number?
Yes, absolutely. And just to emphasize, what we would do if we were thinking it would be above that would be to call a board meeting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And that means we would have to reprice, correct?
No, it would be before the pricing. We wouldn't go out into the market if we thought we were going to exceed whatever threshold we agreed to today. We would postpone a few days, call a board meeting, and all get on the same page and go back out, you know, soon thereafter.
I think that sounds offers some security there for the board and for me. Mr. Chairman, are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
So,
Steve, let me just ask a question. When we're looking at these differences in interest rates, at some point are we also going to see the differences in the coverage? I mean, obviously there's a point at which we don't have coverage. I don't know what it is, but or adequate coverage. So how do we know that the interest rates that ultimately are selected
So let's ask Drew to answer that question in terms of if we have a higher rate, do we reduce the amount that's issued, or is the coverage so significant that we have? If you can kind of address Lewis's question, I think it's a good question.
Great question. I'm pulling that up right now. Kristen ran some sensitivity this morning.
Drew, I appreciate I appreciate your response by saying Kristen's done this work. Let me see what I can find. But
yeah,
Kristen,
so I've done some sensitivity, and that's exactly right. If we get to the 460, 470 range, then we do start to run out of coverage to meet our additional bonds test. So we are limited there, absolutely. I think having the 175, we can still get there, but anything above that, I think would be pretty challenging.
Well, that's probably the best test of all. We certainly shouldn't give authority to do something that's going to stress that beyond what we should be doing. And then I assume that we're starting to get into all other sort of metrics too. Then why would we just seem to be going in the wrong direction if we get too far out there?
Well, yes, this is Charlotte again. If like someone stated earlier, if you get to a level of like let's say 80, your your situation would then be to reduce the amount of the Bs to keep your coverage.
Right, and so presumably at that point, we should have another board meeting to make that kind of a change.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
Right, just to give you the numbers real briefly, at the currently estimated rates, Kristen calculated debt service coverage of 1.37 times, which is right on top of what we showed the rating agency. If rates were to go up 40 basis points from here, so basically to the 4.5%, we'd be at 1.32 times coverage. Still have a little room. That's why she said we could go up into the 460, 470 range before we hit below the 1.3 times coverage limit.
I mean, Drew, would you recommend that we cap it at 470? I mean, I don't really want to push it to where we're going to start having to reconvene a board meeting anyway.
Yeah, I think a 470 would be great.
Okay.
That would give us maximum flexibility without having to change the bond amount.
Okay, Lewis, does that take care of your question? Thank you for asking, by the way.
Yes, I would have figured it out myself, but there are just too many zeros.
That's okay because we have Kristen.
I know. But no, this answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else with any question at this point? Okay.
So
Jessica, should we now ask for a motion to approve the authorization of the issuance of those bonds?
Yes,
and
please.
With a ceiling to go in that blank of 4.70%?
That's exactly right.
Okay. So if I could have a motion to authorize the issuance of the Series 2021 bonds and to sign the documents as we have discussed, putting in the blank for the maximum interest rate of 4.70%. I would appreciate if someone could make that motion.
Very common to us. I make the motion.
Thank you. Second.
Lisa Simon, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next order of business is to approve the preliminary official statement for the Series 2021 bonds. Kathleen, are you going to take on describing that, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is Kathleen Ellison from Norton Rose Fulbright, and we are acting as disclosure counsel to the authority. And in that role, we compiled the preliminary official statement. And if you look at page 184, that's the beginning of that document. And that's the cover page of the preliminary official statement. Just as a beginning, some of this information is preliminary and will be changed before it's actually even sent to any potential investor. Just based on the call that we're having now, it sounds like some of these numbers are going to change. So just keep that in mind when you look at this document. And we are asking for approval to distribute this document with the revisions, the numbers I just described, prior to your next meeting, we hope, so that investors will be able to review this information and then make an offer to purchase the bonds on February 3rd. So we are asking for your approval. However, there is time for the directors to review this document and give any comments that they might have on anything in here that they think is incorrect, or it leaves something out that would be material to a potential investor. If you will scroll down to page 186, The other thing I would like the board to look at and help correct is the names of all the directors, the entity that appointed them, their length of service. In particular, I think we might need a little revision there, but if you can let me know, or someone on the authority staff who can get that verified. The other thing I was going to point out to you is table of contents is on page 187. So this document, as I said, is supposed to be the authority's disclosure document telling bondholders or potential bondholders everything material that they would want to know before they decided to buy some of these bonds. So as you can see, there's a lot of information in this document, and we can go through it to the extent that you would like to. I wanted to point out the information on page 206. This is the investment considerations, where we think of things to say that are relevant to a bondholder, probably what would normally be called risk factors if they are thinking of buying the bonds. So just to point out a couple of the main ones, let's see. The first one is that the bonds are limited obligations, which means that the only source of payment for these bonds is the affordable housing tax increments. So if at the end of the term of the bond there are insufficient tax increments that come into the authority, that is the risk that the bondholders take. It's not the risk that the authority takes. So there is no further recourse. Another main risk factor for investors is, as Kristen described, the pandemic and any resulting economic damage that it might cause. This is not a bond issue that is supported by sales tax revenues. So any change, I think, due to the pandemic would be more gradual and would be shown in taxable value. So that's what the investors will be looking for in the rating agencies in the future. So another major topic of the risk factors is that kind of a description of tax increments, and that the fact that they are dependent upon or derived from the taxable value in the zone, the tax rates of the participating entities in the zone, and the collection rates on those taxes. So the authority has very limited control over any of those major major portions of deriving the tax increment. So we go into that in quite a bit of detail, and other considerations that someone might have. And with that, I think I am going to pause and just ask the chairman for to ask for questions, comments, or if others want to look further in the document.
So does anybody on the board have any questions about any of this? And there's a lot of information here, obviously, so I would encourage everybody to read it and follow up with questions if you have any.
How long do we have to review?
3,000.
Kristen, what is the deadline for getting?
So, sure. So we're scheduled to release the document maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. So if we could have, if you guys have any comments prior to Tuesday or Wednesday, that would be great if we could include them by then.
Where should we direct comments or questions? To whom?
This is Kathleen Ellison. I think probably it would be best to do that to me.
Okay.
I don't think you have my information necessarily, so maybe John or
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
give it to John.
Yeah.
John, they can distribute it to us.
Yeah, the fastest way is to get it to Stephen, and Stephen will take care. But
Okay.
to Stephen Wood or John Breeding, and we'll make sure it gets to Kathleen.
I do have, Kathleen, one question. I noticed, and this is just, I took a quick look at it, that you've got a specific risks related to shopping malls and retail operations, and clearly you've got a very broad disclosure relative to COVID's impact on values. Did you consider putting also a specific risk factor relating to hotels?
That's a good question.
Because we have a lot of hotels. John, I don't know if I recall the exact percentage of taxable value, but it's not immaterial. And I can assure you, being in the hotel business, there's not a single hotel that is going to be litigating over their value as of this January 1st of 2021.
I think that's an excellent point, and I did try to cover office buildings, and like you said,
they're not the worst. That's our other business, but thankfully we're not in. If we were just in hotel and retail, I'd really be concerned. But the office is there, but it is not nearly the impact. You're going to see some significant hotel decreases because hotels. There's not a hotel that's worth more than 75 to 80% of what it was worth last year.
I agree.
I think I remember the hotels being about 10% of the value.
Correct.
So your call, because maybe that's not enough to say, well, if we had a 30% hit to 10%, that's 3%. That's for you kind of to decide, but I'm okay with putting it in there.
Point. And thank you for bringing it up. So.
Okay. That was just the one item I saw.
Mr. Chairman, so just to understand, Kathleen, and I'm going to go Jessica and Stephen Wood as well to advise us now. What we're asking the board is to authorize the issuance of the official statement probably within the next week. I think Tuesday is what I heard you guys say, and with any comments that the board may include. And so I think we're asking for approval with basically material as it is right now, and with any minor changes the board might identify. Is that where we are, Jessica?
I think that's a fair summary, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Then why don't I ask for if we can have a motion to approve the preliminary official statement for the Series 2021B bonds, please.
This is Lewis Clark, so moved.
Thank you, Lewis. Second.
Lisa Simon, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, the motion's approved. Thank you very much. The next item we have is to approve the execution of a certificate regarding the provision of financial advice. We'll turn this back over to Jessica, I presume.
Yes, thank you. This is Jessica. If you'll scroll in your packet all the way down to page 255, this is a one-page document, a one-page certificate that we are asking for your approval on. It states that after listening to all of this excellent financial advice from Masterson Advisors, you understand that ABHR and Bernie Foreman, your co-bond counsels, aren't giving you the financial advice. You're relying on Masterson Advisors concerning the issuance of the 2021A. I see a typo in there that I'll get corrected. 2021A and 2021B bonds.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions about that?
TKG is
All right.
also providing this, of course.
Okay, thank you. If there are no questions, I will ask for a motion to approve the execution of the certificate regarding provision of financial advice, please.
Mary Carmen Temez, I make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Dot Cunningham, second.
Thank you, Dot. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, now we're going to recess the Uptown Development Authority meeting, and we're going to reconvene Reinvestment Zone 16 meeting, and we have the item that we did not address up front, which is to approve the resolution approving the adoption of a resolution authorizing the issuance of Uptown Development Authority taxable Series 2021A bonds and taxable Series 2021B bonds.
Which one is that?
Jessica?
Which one is that?
Yes, this is the official action from the TIRZ board authorizing the action you just took as the authority board to approve the two bond resolutions for A and B. So if you wanted to suddenly kill this deal, you could. You have put in so far. You might not want to.
That's right. So at this point, I'm just going to ask for a motion approving this resolution, please.
Mary Carmen Temez, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Louis Clark, second.
Thank you, Louis. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now going to adjourn Reinvestment Zone number 16, City of Houston meeting and the Uptown Development Authority. And let me just say thank you to all the board members for working through this. And thank you to all of our terrific advisors and professionals for walking us through this process. There's a lot to do, and your good work is much appreciated. Thank you.